I was recently in Görlitz and made two videos, one about Görlitz itself and the other about a railway station that serves the nearby little town of Ostritz. And of course, both of these places are right on the Polish border. Görlitz is just across the river from the Polish town of Görlitz, and Ostritz's railway station is also on the Polish side. So naturally, in both videos, I spoke about the border, but since then, Poland has put border guards on that border, which raises the question, isn't that illegal since both Germany and Poland are Schengen states? Let's first make sure that we're on the same page. All European Union member states, except for Ireland and Cyprus, and all member states of the European Free Trade Association are signatories to the Schengen Agreement, which, among other things, abolishes routine passport controls on common borders. What this means is that you could do a road trip from, say, Portugal to Latvia and, under normal circumstances, not have to go through any immigration checks. You do have to carry either a passport or a government-issued ID card when you cross a border, but it's not usually checked. Did you notice the phrase "not usually" in there? Because member states can still reintroduce border checks temporarily. The country in question needs to notify the European Commission and give a reason for wanting to reintroduce checks, which should last for a maximum of 6 months. And this actually happens quite a lot, but most noticeably in the last 10 years. The 2015 refugee crisis saw large numbers of displaced persons migrating across Europe in search of asylum, and many countries, including Germany, introduced checks on some of their borders to try to manage the situation. Or at least to manage public opinion, because a lot of people were very worried about all the foreigners pouring into their countries. Now obviously, this was more than 6 months ago, and yet not only have these border checks remained in force, but many more have been introduced. So how do you legally have border checks lasting more than 6 months? Well, aside from the fact that the European Commission can't do very much to actually enforce the regulations, the very simple loophole is to find a new reason for needing border checks. For the first 6 months, you need to manage the refugee situation. For the next 6 months, you're worried about the problem of terrorism. After that, it's other forms of irregular immigration. And then you're concerned about human trafficking, and so on, and so on, and so on. In October 2023, Germany introduced checks on its border with Poland. 11 months later, Germany announced that there would be checks on all of its borders. And last May, the new government announced that border checks would be stepped up and also started turning asylum seekers away at the border, something which some legal experts are saying is illegal. Poland did not like this at all, and things weren't helped by some right-wing groups in that country starting a rumour that the German government was driving asylum seekers who had arrived from elsewhere to the Polish border and dumping them there for Poland to deal with. There's no evidence for these claims, by the way, and Germany denies that it's happening. The official policy is not to arbitrarily deport asylum seekers, it's to prevent them from entering Germany in the first place. The German border controls were really only spot checks on the most important crossing points. On my trip, I visited 3 crossing points. The footbridge from Görlitz to Görlitz had federal police cars parked nearby, but I never actually saw anybody's passports being checked. On the road bridge, they were only stopping a few cars, and the footbridge between Ostritz and its station had nobody on the border at all. Poland has now reciprocated. Starting on the 7th of July and initially until the 5th of August, Poland has introduced checks on its borders with Germany and with Lithuania. And to be honest, I was expecting something similar in scale to the existing German border controls. Well, apparently not. They're not checking everybody, but guards have been posted on 52 crossing points on the German border as well as another 13 on the Lithuanian border for some reason. And yes, that does include 3 guards sitting inside a tent on the Polish end of that little footbridge in Ostritz. One of the challenges of introducing border checks is that you need border guards. Now, Germany certainly doesn't have enough of those to permanently man every single crossing, so where on earth is Poland getting its guards from? Well, this is the bit that worries me, because according to official figures, Poland has deployed 800 border guards, 300 police officers, 200 military police officers, and 500 members of the Territorial Defense Force. The Territorial Defense Force is made up mostly of volunteers who've been given basic training in armed combat and crisis management. It was formed in 2017 as a response to the war in Ukraine and the threat posed by Russia, and it's not such a crazy notion when you remember that Poland shares a border with Ukraine. Now, I'm not worried that using military police and volunteer soldiers as border guards is a sign that Poland is on the brink of martial law. I do worry that these people haven't been trained for this. On the other hand, according to the media reports that I've read so far, the first day passed off reasonably quietly. The Polish guards seemed to be quite relaxed about the whole thing, and the predicted chaos and traffic jams didn't materialize. One local newspaper sent reporters to some of the crossings. At the railway station in Görlitz, the border guards seemed to be more interested in studying the timetable than checking the identities of people arriving on the train from Germany. At Ostritz, they found one local who had crossed the border and who told them, yeah, they just looked at my ID card. Officially, Poland's reason for reintroducing the checks is to deal with the problem of people trafficking, but unofficially, Poland isn't even trying to pretend that this is the real reason. A few days earlier, Poland had told Germany that it would be prepared to abandon the whole idea if Germany removed its border checks. Germany refused, but suggested that the two countries police the border jointly. A suggestion which was rejected by Poland, and here we are. It's impossible to predict what will happen next. Personally, I think it's still too early to say that this is the death of Schengen, but it is an escalation in a dispute between two Schengen states, and that is not good for anyone. For now, though, it seems that although crossing the border has become a bit less convenient, again, it's nowhere near as bad as was feared. The whole thing seems to be just political grandstanding. But for now, just remember that whenever you cross a border, even within the Schengen area, you do need to carry either government ID or a passport. A big thank you to everybody who corrected my pronunciation of Görlitz. That's much appreciated. Don't forget, if you want access to special bonus content and help support this channel, you can become a channel member. Click on the join button or use the link in the description for more information.